Hi everyone. Hi Shiva. Hi James. Hi Fatima. Hi Bhavesh. Marcos. Bayo. Krishna. Dolly. Hi. Okay, so hi Anbu, Abai, Muhammad. Okay, so did everyone try to solve the assignment that I gave yesterday? Has anyone tried to solve the assignments? Anyone here? Rahul, Lohita, Marachi. Okay, don't solve. So Adam, you tried but you were not able to solve, is it? I will not be sharing the solution today. I'll share the solution next in the next session. I just wanted to know if anyone even tried. Okay, tried but without success. Okay, I'll give you four more assignments during in this class, uh, and then hopefully three plus four we'll have seven. And I think over the weekend you can solve all the questions. If you have doubts, then yeah, then I'll try to solve them in the next session as well. Okay, but yeah, because we have finished like what 13 sessions. So we have almost covered all the important. So today we'll try to cover everything about window functions. Hopefully, I think then you should be able to solve probably 80% of the SQL problems. Okay. Then the only pending things would be, I think, procedures and functions and uh, the pivot tables and recursive SQL queries. But very I because most of the questions that you will be getting are with related to with clause subqueries, window functions, joins, group by. So these are the most common questions will be related to these topics, whether it is your interview or whether it is your in job. Okay, so if once I cover window functions, then you should be able to solve a lot of problems, not only what I'm giving you, but I would also recommend that you go to lead code or stata scratch. Okay, or hacker rank if you like that, or any other platform. Okay, and you probably should be ready to solve problems in any of those platforms. Okay, once I'm done with window function. Okay, I'm new to this class. Okay, no problem, Benjamin. So if you're new, right, and if you already know the basics, then fine. Of course, you can attend this class, but I would also recommend that you go through the recordings as well. Okay, every recording one by one, because there are a lot of SQL queries we have gone through, concepts we have gone through. So try to also solve all the assignments, everything. Tried but couldn't solve. Okay, I'm looking for recording 13. Recording 13. Okay, so recording 13 is not available because the session 13 I had rescheduled, right? I rescheduled it to 16th September because I was unwell, so I did not take that class. So you wouldn't find a recording for 13th. So you will find recording 14 and today is 15th. Okay, so I think let's start. Um, I'm going to share my screen. So yesterday I gave you an introduction to what window functions are, right? Uh, and then we solved one particular problem using one of the window functions, row number, right? So today I'll try to cover a few more window functions, and I'll also tell you there is one concept called as frame clause. Okay, has anyone heard of frame clause in SQL? In frame clause in general, any has anyone heard it? Does anyone? Okay, so few people have already are aware of frame clause. Okay, that's good. So we'll try to discuss that today. Okay. Um, let's start with this particular question. So we have a requirement where we need to fetch the top three employees in each department earning the max salary. Okay. So top three employees in each department earning the max salary. Can anyone quickly write a query for this? I'll give you maybe 2 minutes. You don't need to write the entire query. Just write the main part of that query. Okay. Maybe in 2 minutes. Can anyone write it? How would you fetch? How would you do this? Because yesterday I gave you an introduction to window functions, we solved one of the queries. So any idea how would you do this? Even if you're wrong, it's okay. The only way to learn, get better at window function is you start writing the syntax, right? So anyone quickly uh, give me that entire line. Like if you're using a window function, give me that entire window functions line. How would you write to perform this activity? That is, fetch top three employees in each department earning the highest salary. Okay, so Adam gives select rank over partition by department, order by salary. Bio, you're almost there, but still it's not going to work. There is something wrong in your query, bio. Row number over partition by this. Krishna Veni also almost there, but there is one problem. Okay, Shiva has given. I think Shiva's query will work. Okay, so now I told you. Okay, so there are three very similar type of window functions called as row number, rank, and dense rank. Okay, they are very similar, but they have major differences in their functionality. Okay, and a lot of time I get questions not only in my previous courses, but also in my YouTube, that when should you use row number, when should you use rank, when should you use dense rank, right? uh, I'll try to explain that a little later. First of all, whenever you have this kind of requirement, we need to fetch top three employees from a department with highest salary, or you get a question like, can you fetch the second highest salary, or can you fetch the fifth highest salary, or can you fetch the last but one record, okay, or something like this, right? Whenever you have a requirement like this, you should understand that, of course, you can do it in many other ways. You can do it using subqueries, maybe some other functions, etc. But one of the easiest way of doing that is by using a window function, especially any one of these three window functions, depending on what exactly you need to do. Okay, in this particular case, I need to find the top three employees in each department. So here I have my employee table. So let's say I'm going to sort this by order by department name. Okay, so department name. Now you can see I have, like, the data is sorted based on each department. So four records for admin, four records for finance, and so on and so forth. What I need to do is top three employees for with the highest salary. Okay, I have sorted the data based on the department, but not sorted it based on salary. You can see here, right? Not sorted based on the highest salary. So how I can do that here is just by telling salary, but salary should be highest at the top, right? So salary in descending order. So when I say salary in descending order, the descending order is only applied for this salary column here, not for this. This by default will be in ascending order. Okay, so now when I run this, now I can see that I'm getting the data that I want, but from this data, I only need to fetch top three employees for each department. So I need to fetch these three, then I need from the admin department, then these three records from the finance department, then these three records from the HR department, and so on and so forth, right? So one of the easiest way of doing this is I can rank each of these employees based on their salary and each in each department. Okay, so I want to give them a rank based on each department, right? So let me write the query now. So I'll just tell select star from employee. Okay, and let's say I'll put a star here, and I'll use a rank function here. Okay, and I'll use the over clause. Now I told you that as RNK. Okay, it's not mandatory to include partition by or order by, right? So if I run this rank, now what is happening is, without providing any partition or without providing any order by, it still works. Okay, but the thing is, there are 24 employees here. All the 24 employees are getting rank as one. Okay, why? Because so here you see, instead of this rank, if I had used row number, okay, so if I had used row number, since I did not partition the data based on any particular column, SQL is going to create just one window, okay, or one partition. So all the data that is returned from this query, or basically all the data from this particular table, is one window. Okay, and in that one window, row number is going to basically check for is going to assign one unique value for each row number, each record, right? So your row number does not care about the value, okay, of your columns. It every time it finds a record, it's going to assign a new row number. But rank will care about the value, okay. So this is one difference, but you'll better understand this when I solve it. Now, of course, we need to create partitions because we need to identify top three employees for each department, right? One of the way of, or basically the only way of doing that in window function is by using the partition by clause. So partition by department name. So as soon as I tell partition by department name, one window creates for each department, right? So let me remove this. And if I run this, you can see here for each department a partition has been created, okay. Still my rank is not working properly here, okay, because for every record it's still giving the same rank, okay, because I need to tell SQL on which column the ranking needs to happen, right? Currently partition is just creating windows, okay. Rank is ready to apply the rank, but rank needs to know on which column the ranking should happen. So when you are giving rank in your school, the ranking is basically given based on your marks, right? So whoever has scored 100 gets the rank 1, 99 gets rank 2, and so on and so forth, right? So SQL needs to know on which column the ranking needs to happen, and SQL will know that by using the order by clause. So whatever you mentioned in your order by clause, based on the values in that column, the ranking will get assigned. Okay. So now here, if I sell order by salary, okay, and I want the salary to be the highest salary should get rank one, right? So I will do it in descending order. Okay. And now if I order this, now you can see the rank function is working. So if I did not give order by clause, by default all the records would basically get the same rank, okay, because SQL does not know on which column the rank should be allocated, right? Once you have given the order by clause, now SQL knows that SQL has to use whatever column that you have mentioned in the order by clause. Based on the values present in this particular column, the ranking should get allocated, right? And that is why here you see here for the admin department, the person with salary 5,000 gets rank 1, the person with salary 4,000 gets rank 2, but then there is another employee with the same salary 4,000, he also gets rank 2. This is the same thing what happens in our school or college, right? If there are two people who have scored the same marks, they both get the same rank, right? And then the next person, basically his rank, one of the rank would get skipped. So you can see here the next, the this employee Gautam, his rank is 4, okay. So I had rank 1, 2, and then ideally it should have been 3, but 3 is skipped because prior to 3, two of the employees got the same rank, right? So that is why here the rank is 4. But let's say if there were 3 employees with the salary 4,000, then the next rank would be not 4 but 5, okay. So this is one important functionality of the rank window function. It will skip a value if it finds multiple records with the same rank, okay. If there are multiple records with the same rank, then the very next record, it's going to skip the rank, okay. So depending on how many duplicates or how many how many records it found with the same rank, okay. I hope you understand this. Now I need to find employees with the top three highest, basically top three employees, right? So I have basically selected the data from the employee table. I have given them the rank based on their salary, and the rank is specific to each window, right? And here each window is basically dependent on the department name, right? Now what I need to do is I basically need to filter out the data only to fetch the top three employees. So either I can do that using subqueries like I did yesterday. Today, let's try to use a with clause here. Okay. So I'm just going to tell with CTE as, okay. And here I can just tell select star from CTE. Okay. Where, so RNK, right? So RNK is less than or equal to 3. Okay. So I want to fetch only employees whose rank is either less or equal to 3. Okay. Now if I run this, I'm getting 14 records. Okay. And you can see here in the first admin department, I'm getting 3 employees. In the finance department, I'm getting three employees. And then in HR department also, I'm getting three employees. But in IT department, I'm getting five employees. Why? Because here I have uh, three employees with rank three. Okay. So there are three employees who are basically earning the third highest salary in this particular department. Hence, all three are fetched. Okay. So so whenever you have a requirement, right, when you need to fetch the, let's say, the top five employees, okay, or something like that, top five employees or top three employees or something like this, generally people try to use the limit clause. Okay, you use the limit clause, or if you're using uh, Microsoft SQL Server, you might use the top clause. Okay, but a better approach is always to use the rank window function. Okay, because there can be multiple records with the same value, right? In that case, rank will be able to handle that. Okay, so I hope you understand this. Any confusion about this rank? Can we use limit keyword inside the with inside the with clause? Inside the with clause here, is it? I'm not sure actually. Let's try. Okay, I don't think so. It is allowed because, as per the order of what is it? The order of execution, limit comes at the extreme end, right? If I put limit here, with clause basically gets executed much before uh, these things get executed, right? So let's say I'm going to put limit of five. Okay, it works. So not aware of this, but okay. So how did it work? What did it do? So from in this particular query, I was getting 24 records, but I put a limit of five, so it only should have fetched these five records. So four and finance one record. And now here, okay, so this one works, but okay. Um, Good question. Okay, who asked this? Can we use? Okay, Murli. To be frank, right, I have never used something like this. We generally do not use a limit. We do not limit the records inside the with clause. Okay, because the whole purpose of using with clause is to kind of use the subquery where we need the data that we want, right? Limit is something that we always use at the very end. Okay, uh, yeah, but this somehow works. But I'm not sure if you can maybe try it in other RDBMS also. A lot of things kind of get supported in PostgreSQL, but not supported in other RDBMS. Simple reason is because PostgreSQL is the most newest of the RDBMS, and a lot of new features keep getting added to this, but not sure if it is supported in every other RDBMS. Okay, but okay, good one. Huh? I too learned something, but I don't think so I'll ever use this. Not really recommended, but of course you might have some requirement where you might need to use it. Okay, if you use limit, there could be multiple duplicate records. Okay, this is not the correct way of doing it. Okay, you should not use limit here. Okay, but at least not in this case. I don't think so. I'm not sure if you have some specific case where you're writing a subquery where the subquery is supposed to fetch only. It needs to limit to some certain number of records. Okay, but if you have that kind of requirement, you can use it. I have never used it in my career, and I don't think so why anyone would want to use that. Okay, a lot of things works in SQL, but it does not mean you need to use that. Okay, so what are arguments in rank? There is no argument for rank. Okay, now there are certain window functions where you need to provide an argument, but these three window functions, row number, rank, and dense rank, you don't need to provide any argument. Okay, um, it's just an empty argument. You just need to provide this parenthesis. Okay, I hope this is clear. Nothing too confusing about this. Now I want to tell you the difference between these three uh, window functions. Okay, so for example, let's say I have a requirement here. Okay, so no requirement here. I'll just tell you the difference between these three. So I'll say select from employee. Okay, and let's say select star, and I'll use all the three. So I'll say row number over, and again I'll use the same thing, that is partition by this one, and let's say I'll do sorting the data based on highest salary. Okay, and this is RN, and I'll say the next, this is rank, and this is dense rank. Okay, and This will be R and K, and this is nth R and K. Okay. Now, if I execute this, let's see what is the difference in the data. Okay, so a lot of people get confused that why do we need to use rank and dense rank? Why can't we always use row number? Because at the end of the day, we just need to give a row number. Based on the row number, we need to find some result, right? So you can see here I have these three functions applied, and let's start looking at that one department at a time. In the admin department, what row number is going to do is, as I told you, row number does not care about the value that is stored in your data table, right? So as soon as it finds a record, for each record it's going to assign a unique row number. So here you can see 1 2 3 4. Okay, but rank will assign a proper value based on the value that is stored in the column. Which value is it going to use? It's going to use the value from the column that you have mentioned in the order by clause. Okay, so your order by clause becomes very important when you're using a rank, not that important when you're using a row number. Okay, so you can see here the rank is, it's basically providing rank based on the salary value. So 5,000 will get 1, 4,000 there are two records, so both will get the same rank, and 2,000 will get the next rank, but one of the rank gets skipped in rank, right? And if you look at dense rank, right, the only difference, okay, so the only difference between rank and dense rank is that rank will skip a value when it finds multiple records with the same rank, okay, prior to that. But a dense rank does not skip that value. So you can see here, here also there are two employees who are having the same salary, and both their rank and dense rank is assigned as 2. Okay, but if you go to the next employee, rank is going to skip a value. So after 2, the next rank given is 4. But in a dense rank, after 2, the next rank is again 3. It does not skip a value. And this can be very useful because even I have faced an interview where I was asked a specific question where I had to use dense rank because the requirement was something like I forgot the exact question, but it was something where uh, the rank value should not get skipped. Okay, so whenever you have and you will understand that when you get a question where they will specify that you need to uh, assign a value or fetch the top 3 employees or something without skipping a rank, then this is what you need to use. Okay, so in the most simplest of terms, if you just look at these three columns here, you will come to know the difference. Row number is just a unique row number for every record, irrespective of any other value in the table. Rank and dense rank are almost the same with only one difference. Rank will skip a value, dense rank does not skip a value. Okay, so this can also be a very frequently asked interview questions. In the interview, the person might ask, what is the difference between rank and dense rank? Okay, in the simplest way, if you have to answer, you can just tell rank skips a value when there are same rank given, and dense rank does not skip a value. Okay, is this clear? Nothing too confusing or complex about this. If it is clear, I would like to solve an SQL problem. Okay, where we'll try to use this concept that we have learned. Okay, okay, so fine. So let's move on to the next one, and this one is going to be okay. So before I solve a problem, right? Okay, maybe we'll try to solve this problem before I explain another window function. So I have this particular question here. Okay, I'm going to open. Okay, I'll keep this same tab. So this is actually question number 5. Question number 4 I'll come later. Okay, and I have a new data set for this. So I'm going to execute the data set. Let me create the tables. So I have 3 tables. Okay, and the question tells me that, okay, so let me, okay, so I have a requirement where I need to find the date with the highest total energy consumption from Facebook data centers. Okay, So basically I need to find the date. So looks like my output should be some date. Okay, and I should fetch the date where there was highest total energy consumption, okay, from these Facebook data centers. Output the date along with the total energy consumption across all the data centers. Okay, if there are multiple days with the highest energy consumption, then display both the dates. Okay, so we have three tables. Okay, and I have this first table, FB underscore EU energy. So this basically is, I think, for Europe. So there is, Facebook has many data centers across the globe, right? So there are, so imagine that this is the energy consumption for some specific days from all the data centers that are stored in, that are present in Europe. Okay, so in Europe you can see that I have some five records. So for 1st Jan 2020, the total energy consumption was 400 units, and then for some other days I have some other total energy consumption mentioned here. Okay, and for the data centers that are present in Asia, the energy consumption for some days are mentioned here, and then the energy consumptions which are present in North America, I can see I have some energy consumption data present here. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to look at the data in all of these three tables and then identify on which particular day there was the highest energy consumption. Okay, so that is what we need to do, and we need to print which was the day and what was the total energy consumption. And let's say if there were multiple days with the same highest energy consumption, then both the days needs to be displayed. Okay, now can you guys tell me what are, to solve this problem, there are two main things that I need to use. Okay, can you tell me what are the two main concepts in SQL that I will need to use in order to solve this problem? Just by reading this problem and just by looking at this data, you should get an idea what are the two main concepts that you need to use. Okay, can anyone answer? So please give data set in a window for us to solve along. I think this data set is little too big, but let me try to copy it. Okay, so it's over 1,000 characters. Maybe I'll share it one by one and then you can try to solve it. Okay, so you got the DDL. Now let me provide you the insert. So I'm pasting the data set here. Anyone who wants to solve it yourself, you can solve it. In which database does not matter. It should work everywhere. Uh, okay, so now, okay, what did you answer? What are the two main concepts that we need to use? Anyone? Union, then rank. Okay, so Abhay tells union and then rank. James tells joins. Adam tells union, the three table, window function for rank. Okay, we need to join all the tables. Sum of consumption, union, all three tables, and rank. Okay, can anyone tell me why do you think we need to use union here? Because many of you guys told union. Why do we need to use union here? What is the reason for that? What is your thinking behind that? Anyone? Why do you need to use union? Make it single column. But why do you need to make it single column? Sort by DC, all the records, similar column and data. Just because it has similar column and data, do you need to union every time? What is the reason why you need to union? Union is correct. Okay, we need to union all these three tables, but what is the reason for that? Right. Okay. So Suraya's explanation is almost right there. The reason is because of the statement that is given in the question here. So they are telling output the date along with the total energy consumption across all data centers. So what they're telling is we need to find the day when there was highest energy consumption, but when we are trying to find that, we need to consider the basically the data across all the data centers. So when they say all the data centers, I know that each of this table is having data for one data center present in a particular continent, right? So if I need to consider all the data centers, I need to consider the data from all the tables. So basically I need to bring together the data from all the three tables and then apply whatever logic I need to apply. right? So the first thing that we need to do is we need to use union. Okay, union or union all, that we will see depending on whether there are duplicates in the data or not. Okay, so I think in this particular case it's better to use union all, because we do not want to, if there are let's say in Europe and Asia there were there are some specific day where the energy consumption was the same, then both these tables would have the same number, same record. Okay, but if I do union, then I'm going to lose one of those record because it does a distinct. I do not want to lose a record. I want to consider the data from all these three tables together, right? So the very first thing that I need to do is I need to bring all of them together. So what I'll do is I'll remove this. I'll say union all. Okay, and union all. Okay, so this is my very first thing. That is fine. So now when I execute this, now I am getting 16 records. So for all the days, all the total energy consumption, I have got it, right? So the simple reason why you need to do union all is because I need to consider the data from all the table together, because that is what was specified in the question. Okay, now what next? So once I have got this, my intention is to find which day there was highest energy consumption. So what can I use for this? How do I find which was the day with the highest energy consumption? How can I, because you can see I have first Jan some energy consumption, then again for first Jan I have again some other energy consumption, then again for first Jan I have again some other energy consumption, right? So I hope you can see this. Okay, just zoomed in. So when I have these multiple days with some energy consumption, the first thing that we can do is, yes, sum group by date, right? Because I need to group the data based on each date, and then I need to sum this consumption so I can identify for each of this date what was the total consumption. Then I will see where the highest consumption happened on which day, right? So the first thing that I can do here is, okay, first of all, I'm going to put this into a with clause. So I'm just going to say, all um, all energy. Okay, so and I'll call it, I'll move this to the right. Okay, so this is fine. So I have got all my energy consumption in the all energy table. Next I'll use another CTE. So I'll tell um, aggregated consumption. Okay. Or I'll tell all energy, and I'll tell aggregated energy. Okay, and this will be as, and here I'll just tell select from all underscore energy. Okay, and here I'm just going to group the data based on date, and I'll do a sum of consumption, right? And this one I'll give an alias like total consumption. Okay, and I need to group the data based on group by date. Okay, so I think that is fine, and here I'll write my main query, select from aggregate energy. Okay, and I'll just say star. Okay, now if I just execute this, I'm getting an error, and because I missed a comma here. So now let me run this, and I'm getting another error. So it's a typo, consumption, and now let me run this. So now I'm getting, I think, 7 records. You can see here. So I have 7 records, and let's say I will sort this data. So order by date. Okay, and now let's see. So now I can see that for first Jan, the total consumption is 1050, second Jan 1125, etc. Now, what my intention is, I need to find the date where the highest energy consumption happened. So, just to make it more clear, I'll do order by 2 in descending order, so we can see which date the highest energy consumption happened. Now, if I run this, now you can see the highest energy consumption was 1250, but 1250 was the energy consumption on 6th Jan as well as on 7th Jan, right? So there are two different dates when the same number of energy consumption happened, and this is the highest energy consumption. Now, my output should be, I need to display both these records, right? So how can I do that? Which function can I use? Max? Should I use max, or is there any other function that I can use? Anyone? Rank? Okay. Of course, you can use max as well, but I think in order to use max, you will need to create another subquery, right? But if you use rank, it's very straightforward, right? So for example, what I can do here is I can just tell rank, okay? For each of this record, I can give a rank, and I know that the first two will get the same rank. Okay, why? Because their values are the same, right? So I can just tell rank over, and okay, on which column should I do partition? Can anyone tell? On which column should I do partition here? Date. Should I do partition based on date? Okay, Brent tells none. So should I do partition here or should I not do partition here? No partition. Okay. Most of you guys are telling date, but what is the purpose of partition? We do partition so that from my entire data, I can create some windows and I apply this window function for each of that windows, right? Now, let's say if I create a partition for this result set and you guys told to do partition based on date, for each unique value in that column, one window gets created. So it would create one window for 6th Jan, another window for 7th Jan, another window for 5th Jan, another window for 4th Jan. Each of these values, there would be one window, and window function rank would get applied separately for each of these windows, right? So all of this would basically get the rank as one only, right? So that is why when you're using a window function, you need to understand the data and see if you need a partition or not. Do you need to create separate windows for your query or not? Okay. In this particular case, I want to apply the rank not based on this one. I want to apply the rank just based on total energy consumption, and I want to consider this entire record as one window. And that is why I don't need to create a partition here. I just need to do an order by. So I can just tell order by total consumption and in descending order, right? And this will be my rank, right? And now let me run this. Now you can see that I'm getting these two are the same value. So the rank is 1. The next rank is skipped because these two got the same rank. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. Now I'm not bothered about all the other rank. I only want to fetch that records where the energy consumption was highest. How do I know where the energy consumption was highest? If I just fetch the data where the rank is 1, it should give me the data, right? So what I can do here is I can maybe put this into a subquery, but since I already have a with clause, I'll try to create another temp table here. So I'll move this to the right. Okay. And I'll open the bracket here. Well, okay, I don't need this order by here. In subqueries, it's not required to use order by clause. Okay. It's unnecessary. And then here I'll just give a name like, okay, maybe I'll give CT. Okay. Not the best naming convention, but for now I'll use it. So I'll just tell select from CTE, okay, where RNK is equal to 1, because I'm only interested in the record where the rank is 1, right? So I'll move this to the down, and here I'll just tell date, comma, this total consumption, right? So now if I run this, I'm getting an error, and because I missed an as clause here. Okay, so now let me run this. Now I am getting the final data. So total consumption is 1250 for these two dates. Okay. I hope this question is clear. Now, is it clear? Any confusion about this? I'll give you a small assignment based on this question, and I'll give you 2 to 3 minutes to solve it. Okay. Any question about this? Need to provide CTE name. Missed as. Okay, okay, fine. So now what I want you guys to do is in the next 2 to 3 minutes, I have solved this same problem and I'm going to share it with you. Okay, you can use this, you can basically use this query. What I want you to do is, can you reframe this query without using a with clause? Without using with clause, can you solve this problem? Okay, can you do it right now actually? Because you guys are familiar with subqueries, you guys are familiar with clause. So you should probably be able to convert a query which is having with clause into a query which uses only subqueries. So yes, you can use subqueries. Can you do that? Okay. So just convert this query into subqueries and then share me your solution. So let's see, whoever the top 5 people who is going to share this solution, I'll try to execute their query. Okay, because one of the important skills of being able to use SQL in your work is, one way you can improve your SQL knowledge is you take a query and then you try to rewrite that query using a different concept. Okay, this way you kind of you will you will kind of get hands on with the syntax of SQL and everything. Okay, so that's why now the time is 8:11 for me. I'm going to wait for 2 to 3 minutes. Let's see who can solve this problem. So remove the with clause and solve the problem using subqueries. That's it. Okay, so until you're solving it, i'll I'll look at the next concept. Is everyone trying it? Okay, maybe I'll look at the question Q&A tab until you guys solve it. Suppose our table has 10 records and we want to select 5 random rows. 5 random rows. Uh, I think do we have a random function in SQL? I think we have random in Python. I'm not sure if we have a random function in SQL. We can Google it. I'm not aware of that. Okay, so anyone, 2 minutes is up. Anyone was able to solve it? Okay, so Shiva shares the first question, first solution. So let's replace with clause table name with query used in replace with clause table name. I did not understand, Kota. Okay, so I'm going to take the query that was shared by Shiva. Let's see if his answer is right. We must have an option to beautify the SQL right here. Anyone aware of where is that beautifier? Explain, plan, analyze. Okay, I'll manually do it. So you are using select this one from here, from okay. So Shiva has given this query. So what he did was, initially he took the total data. Okay. Then he grouped the data based on date and took the sum of consumption. Okay, correct. And then he did a rank of this on top, and then he used, okay, this one fine. Will this work? Okay, this one does not work. I think there is one minor problem. Are you asking how to change the theme? Not the theme, because I manually like made this query into readable format, right? Generally, in other tools, we have this some button where we can beautify the query, so everything automatically happens. I'm just trying to see if PG admin has that. Um, Format option. Where is format option? I don't see. Okay, but not okay. No problem. So I only got one solution from Shiva, and this solution is not working. Anyone else? Did anyone? Did everyone at least try to convert this into a query using only subqueries? Did everyone try? Okay, one more minute. You should know, like, by doing this exercise, right? You will kind of get more comfortable using with clause and subqueries. Okay, and trust me, we use subqueries and with clause every single day. Okay, so if you are going to be working on SQL, you have to be very confident in SQL, in subqueries, in with clause, in joins, in group by. These are like bread and butter, and window functions. It will just put in Shiva's query. Okay, just put, where should I put this one? What is that? Close parenthesis. It's actually not I use with more than some. Okay, end properly. So it's actually not end properly. This whole thing he needs to put it inside another subquery. So it's not just by putting an, if you put a parenthesis here, it's not going to work. Okay, what one more subquery is what he missed. So if I just tell select star from, okay, then I open the parenthesis here, and then I move this to the right, and then I move this here. Now I think this will work. No, because I need to give an alias here. So let's say XX. Okay, now it will work. Okay, so the only thing is, and this solution is correct. So you have one subquery here, then another subquery here, another subquery here, and then another subquery. So totally there are, for this query, there are three subqueries. Okay, so but, and this is kind of like a nested subquery. Okay, but I hope everyone has tried and you got some understanding that how you can convert a query from a with clause into a query using subqueries. Okay, now can you tell me which is more easier for you to read out of these two queries? So you have this query which is written just by using subqueries, and then you have this query which is written using with clause. Which is more easier to read? With clause, right? Okay, so it's very obvious, right? Why with clause is very, lot of people prefer to use with clause, because you see, you have each section of your query is segregated into a particular temp table with a name. Okay, and then if you had to make any changes, it's very easy for you to go back and change. And now for us it might be very easy to change here, but let's say you are working on a project where some queries have been written many years back, and not just a query which is like 10, 20 lines long, a query which might be 100, 200 lines long. If you had used with clauses, then it becomes very easy not only to read but also to make any modification in the query, right? If you, trust me, I have worked on projects where we had queries which was 200 lines long, and we had multiple subqueries. Okay, and I'm talking about long time back, and this was I was working for the banking clients, and the queries were written like 5, 10 years back, and it was so, just to understand what is happening in the query, we used to spend a lot of time. Okay, and then making, when we used to make changes, because they used to use subqueries, sometimes similar subqueries would be used in multiple different places in your procedure, in our packages, and we had to make the same changes in so many different places. It kind of becomes very messy and takes a lot of time to understand. Okay, and that is why with clause is such a useful thing to use. Okay, it makes your code more readable and makes it easy to maintain in the future. Okay, I hope this is clear. And Shiva, you asked to explain why we needed another subquery. I already explained this yesterday. Okay, why you cannot use rank directly here, right? Because rank is not a column, right? It becomes a column here, and only then you need to use a subquery outside. Okay, try to run it yourself, you'll understand. Very similar runtime, both are similar in time, but yeah. So it does not, okay, in this particular case performance is not improved, but there are certain cases where with clause will improve the performance, specifically if you are using a subquery multiple times in your query, and then if you put that one subquery into a with clause, then SQL is going to execute that only once. But if you put a subquery, let's say 5 different times in your query, then 5 different, or maybe 5 or more than that times, it would get executed. So here, no improvement, no difference in the performance, but there are cases where with clause can actually improve performance a lot. Okay. I hope this is clear. This question is clear. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. Now I want to solve this problem using a new data set. Okay. So I'll take, this is the question number 4. Okay. So from the students table, write the SQL query to interchange the adjacent student names. Okay. And they are telling if there are no adjacent students, then student name should stay the same. Okay. So I'll try to explain that, but first let me create the table, and I have the students table. Okay. And so as you can see, I have a students table. There are 5 student information here. I have the ID and I have the student name. Okay. So one is James, two is Michael, and so on and so forth. What they are telling is I need to write a query to interchange the adjacent student name. So meaning that now one ID 1 belongs to James and ID 2 belongs to Michael. I need to interchange their IDs. Okay. So I want to give ID 1 to Michael and ID 2 to James. So 1 should become Michael, 2 should become James. Okay. And then 3 should become Stewart and 4 should become George. Okay. And then 5, because 5 does not have an adjacent student, right? So you can see here, if there are no adjacent student, then student name should stay the same. Okay. So because for 5 there is no student, right? So Robin should stay the same. Okay, it should be Robin itself. Okay, so the ID 5 should be assigned to Robin itself. Okay, can anyone guess what kind of function or window function we can use to solve this kind of problem? Anyone? Lead and lag, right? Okay, so we saw 3 window functions so far. Each of them were assigning some value to your row number, rank, and dense rank. Now whenever you have a requirement where you need to fetch the, so if you want to, so you, every time when SQL you execute an SQL query, I told you that one record gets executed at a time. So initially the first record gets executed, second record gets processed, and third record gets processed, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now sometimes you might have a requirement where you're when you're processing one of the record from your SQL result set, you may need to fetch the data from some other record which may be coming in the next record or next to next record, or it might be coming from the previous record, etc. Okay. Whenever you have to do this kind of a comparison, we have 2 different functions in SQL, which is called as lead and lag window functions. Okay. So we'll try to use this. So uh, the logic what we can build is, if you look at this ID, right, you can see this ID 1 is an odd number, 2 is an even number, 3 is odd, 4 is even, right, and 5 is odd. So we can tell that as soon whenever you find an odd number, I want SQL to go to the next even number and fetch its value and replace it corresponding to the odd number. Okay. And whenever it finds an even number, it needs to go to the previous odd number and fetch that student name and load it corresponding to this particular even ID. Okay. And the same thing should happen for every other record. And let's say if it's going to find no even number, there is no next even number, then that value should not get changed. Okay. So with this concept, right, we'll try to implement this query. And I know that first of all I need to find if whatever record that I'm processing, if that ID is an odd number or an even number. So, and I think we had previously told you how we can identify if a value is odd or even, right? So I think Sraya already gives a solution here. So I'm just going to say select students. Okay. And what I can do is, okay, I'll do a star here and I'll tell case when, okay, ID. So I can use the mod function, but I always prefer to use this percentage symbol here. So I'll just tell ID %2. Okay. So if it is even, right, then I know that if ID is an even number, then modulus of 2 will always return me 0, right? So if it's going to return 0, then it's an even. But let's say I'm just going to say if it is not equal to 0, that means if it is an odd number, because the first record will be an odd, right? It will always start from 1, right? So if it is an odd number, then I want to say, I want to basically fetch the student name from the very next record. Okay. So I'm currently processing the first record, but I want to fetch the value from the next record. In that case, I can use the function called as lead. Lead means the next one, right? Lag means the previous one, something like that, right? So I say lead, okay. And in lead, I need to, there are few different parameters that I need to provide. The first parameter or the first argument is basically the column that I want to fetch. The column that I want to fetch here is the student name, right? So I'll tell if my ID is an odd number, then go to the next record and fetch the student name from there. That is Michael, okay, and print it here. So I'll just tell then this one. I'll tell end, and I'll call it like new student name. Okay, so let's execute this, and I'm getting an error. Case when this, then lead of. Okay, so I'm getting an error. Can anyone tell me why I'm getting an error? I'm using a lead window function. Why am I getting error? What is wrong with this syntax? Let's see how many understood window function. Okay, over is missing, right? This is a window function, and in a window function, over is mandatory. So I need to use over, right? So now I need to use over, but do I need to do a partition here? So I have all of this record. Do I need to do a partition here? Anyone? Okay, I don't need to do a partition, right? So, but I would do and sorting of data based on this ID, right? So always my ID with one should be at the top, and then it should get processed, right? So I'll just tell order by ID, okay? I think that should be fine. Now, if I execute this, now you can see here what is happening is whenever I found an odd number, I told SQL as soon as you see that the ID is an odd number, go to the next record and fetch the student name from the next record. Okay. So here it found ID is an odd number. So in that case, it goes to the next record, that is Michael. Okay. And Michael gets displayed here. Okay. And the same thing, this is an even number, so nothing gets happened. So that is why it's printing null. And the next thing is it's an odd number, George. It goes to the next record, Stewart. So Stewart gets printed here. Okay. And that's what is happening. Okay. So we have handled wherever the ID is an odd number, we have handled it. Now I need to handle when it is an even number, right? So what I can do here is I will use the same case, and I'll just tell, okay, I'll put another condition here. So I'll just tell the same thing here. And in this case, I'll tell when it is equal to 0, because if it is even number, I can also put else here. I don't need to put when, okay, but I'll put the when condition. So when ID is an even number, then, so if it is an even number, that means previously I should have an record with odd number ID, right? So I can just use a lag. So that is a previous record. So it goes to the previous record and fetches a student name, okay? And then everything else can stay the same. And now if I execute this, now you can see that I'm getting James, and the next record for James was Michael. So I got Michael printed here. And then for Michael, the previous record was James. I got it here. When it goes to George, the next record for George was Stewart. It got printed here. And when it goes to Stewart, since he's an even, he has an ID with the even number, his previous record is George. So George gets printed here. Okay. So at the end, I want my query to only have ID and new student name. This one I'll remove later on. Okay. This column. Now, how do I handle this last record? How do I handle this last record? Can anyone tell how can I modify this query so that what I want is, because this, when what happened with this Robin record was ID is 5, so this particular condition gets satisfied. But in this particular condition, when I did a lead, it's going to fetch the next student name, but there is no next record at all. Since it does not find a next student record, it's printing null. So what can I do to fix this? I want it to print Robin itself. How can I fix this? Else student name. Uh, okay. So you guys are telling else student name. So else student name. Do you think this will work? How many people think this is going to solve the problem? And how many people think this will not work? Will work, not work, not work. It should not work, right? What is a case statement? Case statement, what it will do is first it will check for the first when condition. If it is satisfied, whatever you have mentioned here, it will get executed here. Once it displays this, it's going to skip everything else. Okay. In this particular case, ID 5, this ID 5 is an odd number. So this condition gets satisfied. Then it's going to print whatever you have mentioned here. It will never go into this else part at all. Okay. So if I execute this, we can see that the output is the same. So this else part does not actually solve the problem. Okay. So what this means is I need to do something here itself. Okay. Now some of you I think mentioned if null or coil is, we can use that. Okay. But a more better way is in this lead function, right? Lead function will accept three arguments. Okay. So the first argument is a mandatory argument. You need to tell which column it needs to display. The next two argument are optional argument. Okay. The next argument is basically one, I think this is offset. Okay. And then we have something called as a default value. Okay. So the default value is something, we have something called as null. Okay. But here I will just tell no record found. Okay. So let's say just for showing you, I'll say no record found. Okay. So if I execute this, now you can see instead of null, it's printing no record found. Why? If when I execute a lead function, if it's not able to find the next record with the student name from the next record, then by default it used to always print null. Okay, but I can change the default value from null to anything else that I can mention here. Okay, so that is what is happening. And this one is basically which next record it should look. If it's going to look for the next record, then it's basically one record after the current record. If I wanted to look for two records after the current record, then I can mention two here. Okay. So if I mention two here, okay. So if I mention two here and if I execute this, now what is happening is for James, two records after this is George, right? So George gets printed. For Michael, two records after this is Stewart. So for my, okay, previous record, right? Oh, okay, so this Michael is an even number, so this condition gets executed. So this condition is again just looking at by default one record prior to student, right? So for Michael it is again James only, but for George here, two records after George is Robin, so Robin gets printed. Okay. And then for no record found is again printed because two record after Robin, basically there is no record, so it prints null, but null I have replaced null with this value. Okay. So by default, it will always be one. So I'll use one. And here, instead of mentioning some hard-coded value, what I want is, if I don't find a next student, I want it to be the same student, right? Whatever the student name is in the current record. So that is this student name, right? So now if I execute this, now you can see that I have got the output. So for James, it prints Michael. For Michael, it prints James. For George, it prints Stewart. For Stewart, it prints George. And Robin, since there is no next record, it prints Robin itself. Okay. And my final output should only be ID and the new student name. So now if I execute this, this is what I'm getting. Okay. Is this clear? Did everyone understood this particular lead and lag function? The same thing can happen in lag also. So here also I can add two more arguments. So I can tell one, okay, default value is always one. I can change it to any other value if I want. Okay. And here I can have something like no record found. Okay. But here all the records will be found because I'm checking for even number. So before even there is an odd. So let's say if my table did not have a column ID, okay, if this if the record with this ID one was not present, then it would bring no record found for the very first record. Okay. Dolly, what is not clear? What exactly is not clear? Which part is not clear? If the ID, when partition is necessary, I already explained it previously, Jay. Why do you use partition? If you want your window functions to be applied for a specific window, then you create a window by using the partition by clause. If you want your window function to be applied for your entire result set, then do not use the partition by. As simple as that. If the ID is not as neat as this example, can we rank the rows and then use the same? Yes. So that's a very good method, Murali. So let's say if we did not, if maybe we had an ID or we did not have an ID, we had something else. If it, whenever you want to have a, you want to have a something like a primary key in your table and you do not have it explicitly in the table, then you can use a row number function to provide unique row number. Okay. I would not use rank, okay, but I would use row number. Difference in using lead and lag. Okay, so Dolly, the thing is here, right? Whenever we use lead to fetch the data from the next record. We use lag to fetch the record from the previous record. Okay, this next record and previous record depends on the current record that SQL is processing. Okay, whenever you apply a logic for your SQL is going to process your record. SQL is going to process your table one record at a time. So the first record gets processed. When the first record gets processed, if I use lead, it's going to look for the next records. Okay, by default, it's always going to look for the one record next to the current record. Okay, so this is my current record. One record next to that is this record, that is with the ID 2. Okay, and I can change that 1 to 2 or whatever by giving a value in the second argument. Okay, lead does the opposite of that. Okay, so if I'd asked SQL to use the lag function here, okay, when it was an odd number, then it would try to look for the previous record. There is no previous record before ID 1, right? So it would basically return null by default. Okay, so lag will look for the previous record from the current processing record. Lead will fetch the data from the next record from the current processing record. Okay, as simple as that. So what I would suggest is uh, try to solve it yourself, Dolly. You can change the query as per your requirement, and not just for this table. You can apply this function for any other, maybe for the employee table. See what happens. Okay, change the arguments and see what happens. You need to practice. Okay, and you can also watch the recording again to understand better. Why do we need to order by row number function? Where is order by row number function? Why do we need order by for uh, okay, why do we need order by in row number function? It's very simple, right? I think I explained this yesterday, Suraya. Because if you did not do an order by, the what happens is the data might be sorted in any order, right? Sometimes you might want to provide a row number based on their salary or something, right? In that case, you can use order by. So what is meaning of ID percentage 2? ID percentage 2, Benjamin, since you joined today, right? I think in my very probably in my third or fourth class, I have explained you what is ID percentage 2. I would recommend that you watch the recording. It basically determines if an ID is even number or odd number. Okay, so I would say you watch the recording, you'll get understanding of that. I have explained that exact thing. Okay, it's not actually division. It's basically it returns the reminder. Okay, it's like modulus. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing that I have is okay. So I have a very interesting question. Yeah, let's try to solve this. Okay, so let's try to solve this problem before I proceed. Find the best selling item for each month. So again, um, okay. So this is a very big table. I need to create this table. So let me create this table. Okay. So I have a lot of records here. So first of all, let me create this table. This is going to use a new data set. Okay, so this data set is created and the table is online retail. Let's see who can give a solution for this particular problem. Okay, so I have a table called as online retail, and you can see that it has 108 records. So I have an invoice number, I have some stock code. There is a description. This is basically the item that was uh, sold or purchased or whatever. Okay, so this is the item name. The column name is description, but yeah, this is also, you can say this is the name as well. And then we have how much quantity was sold, on which date, what was the price of each unit, the customer who purchased it, and in which country. Okay, so something similar to a sales order table. Okay, the table name is online retail. Now what we need to do is we need to find the best selling item for each month. So you can see here, I have these orders have been sold on different dates, right? So this is February 21st, this is 13th Jan, this is 20th of July, etc., right? uh, what we need to do is we need to identify for each month which was the best selling item. Okay, so here they're telling find the best selling item for each month. No need to separate months by year. Okay, so they are telling if there are, because you can see some of, maybe this is all 2011. Okay, but there are some orders for 2010, and then some orders, yeah, for 2010. So the orders are scattered across, I think, 2010 and 2011. But they're telling do not, you don't need to consider years. For each month, which was the best selling item we need to find. Okay, where the biggest invoice was paid. Okay, and here they have given us the definition of what they mean by best selling item. So best selling item is calculated using the formula unit price into quantity. Okay, output the description of the item along with the amount paid. So what this means is for each month we need to find which was the best selling item. How do you identify the best selling item? We basically need to multiply unit price with the quantity. Okay, so whatever, whichever is having the highest value, that was the best selling item for that month. Okay, now can you tell me what are the different concepts in SQL you may need to use in order to solve this problem? Can anyone tell me? Okay, extract month, partition by month. Okay, group by. Okay, so Sivas tells group by. Why do you need a group by here? For month, correct. Okay, this is the thinking that you need to have. Okay, you looked at this problem, and here they are telling we need to basically find a item for each month. So one month should have one record, right? And you can see that there can be multiple items sold in a month, right? But we need to group the data based on month with the highest, uh, what is that, highest price, right? Highest selling price or whatever, right? So group by we need to use. And then what else? What would be one more? Okay, so Adam tells rank. Yes, maybe we will need to use rank because we might get multiple items sold in a month, right? And we can group the data for each month by using the group by clause. Then we can maybe sum together all the total sold price for that item. Okay, and then each month might have multiple items sold, right? We need to find the highest, the best selling item. Okay, that we can find by giving a rank for each of the item based on their selling price, right? One, and for that we may need to use a rank function, right? And then we may need to enclose all of them into a subquery or a with clause to find the final result. So the three main concept that we would be using is one, group by, the second one would be a rank function, and the third would be a subquery or a with clause. Okay, so this is just giving you an idea of when you look at a problem, you need to know what concepts you can use. Okay, that will help you to solve a problem little more easily. So now let's try to solve this problem. Let's go step by step, of course. So I have this online retail table. So I'll go to the extreme bottom here. Okay, and I have this table. First thing is I need to group the data for each month, right? So how do I group the data? So I can use that extract function, but I will use the to_char function. So to_char of invoice date. Okay, and I need to do the segregation for each month, right? So I'm just going to say MON. So hopefully it's going to fetch the month. Okay, and okay, let me just execute this and show you. Here you can see from that invoice date column, I'm only fetching the month, right? What I need to do is I need to group the data. So group by the same column. Okay. And if I group by the same column, okay, previously how many records I found? I found 108 records, right? But when I did a group by of this, I got only 12 because there are only 12 months in this particular table. Okay, so that is fine. Now I need to fetch all the other. What are the other columns in this table? So I have select star from. So I know how to group the data for each month, but when I'm grouping the data for each month, I need to know for each item what was the total sold price, right? Its value, right? So I can find its value by multiplying quantity into unit price. So here I can just tell quantity into unit price. Okay, this should basically be my total value. So if I just like without the group by, if I run this, you can see that I'm getting the value, right? But here I have for Feb and again for Feb and etc. So when I'm doing group by of this, in order to consider the value from this, either I will need to include all of this column into the group by clause, or I need to enclose this into a aggregate function, right? So in this case, should I put these two columns into the group by clause, or should I enclose this into a aggregate function to get the answer that I want? Anyone? What do you guys think? Should I enclose this into an aggregate function? Not necessary. Okay, so Abhay tells not necessary. Anyone else here who thinks that I should just use these two columns in the group by clause? I can use this, right? So if I use this, so let's say instead of that, I can do this. Let's see if this works. Okay, this works. I'm getting 104 records, but this is not what I want, right? What happened here was that the data got grouped based on each month and based on their sales amount, right? Their sales value, right? But that is not what I want. I want to group the data for each month and then take the total sales amount, right? So I don't want to group the data based on the quantity and unit price, but I want to find the aggregate of these two values. Okay, and here I will just take the value like what was this actually? Best selling item is calculated. Okay, best selling item. Okay, maybe I'll call it like total sales. Okay, and if I run this now you can see that I'm getting 12 records, and for December the total sales amount is 157. For Feb it is 100. That is fine. Okay, but this is also not what I want. What I want is I want to find not the highest sales, like the total sale that happened in each month. I want to know the best selling item, right? My item is present in, I think, my column description, right? So I need to also display the item that was sold and the item that had the best, which was the best selling item for each month, right? So that means I need to use that column description here. So description, okay, and that's it. So this one I'll just call it like month, okay, and then description I'll call it like as item, okay, just to make it more neater. And now if I run this, it's not going to work. Why? Because description is a column which is present in the select clause but not present in the group by clause. The rule is whatever you mention in the group by clause, those columns has to either be there in the select clause, okay, they have to be in the select clause, okay, and any other columns has to either be within the aggregate function or they should be also in the group by clause, right? So here, since I'm using the description column, so I will use the description column in the group by as well. And now if I run this, now I'm getting 106 records, okay, and if I just show you here, and so let's say which month I'm getting, because uh, many of these items have been sold in different months, so I'm getting the data for everything. So what I will do is, just to make it more neat, whenever you have data for, like if you have multiple data, I told you yesterday that if you want to solve the problem and if you're not able to completely understand that, it's better that you take a very small subset of data and then try to apply your logic. So here also I'll take a small subset of data. So I'll just tell for a particular month, okay, so I'll just take for a month, maybe let's say for Jan. Okay, let's see if I have multiple records for Jan. Okay, so I'm getting multiple records for Jan, and you can see here in the month of Jan, these 7 items were sold. So lunch bag, memo board, board 20. I don't know. These are some items, right? And their total value, what they were sold in Jan, is mentioned here, right? What I want is I want to know the best selling item for each month. Now I'm only interested in Jan. Okay. Out of these, can anyone tell me which is the best selling item for Jan? Out of these 7 items, which is the best selling item? How can I identify that? Max, I can use max, okay, no problem. But there is a better way of doing that, because if I use max, I need to use a subquery, okay, because I need to write a subquery where from this result set I fetch the value with the max of total sales, and then I use the outer query to fetch that data. Okay, so subquery would be unnecessary in this case, right? A better way of doing that is by using rank, because for rank I don't need a subquery, right? So what I can do here is, uh, I have this total sales. I'll move this to the next line, and here I can just tell rank, okay, over, and here, okay, for this particular case, do I need to do a partition by here? Again, anyone? Do I need a partition or no? No? Okay, fine. So I don't need a partition in this particular case. So I'm just going to say order by total. Okay, this order by total sales. So, okay, order by total sales and rank of this one as RNK. Okay. Now, one quick question. Will this query work or is it going to throw an error? Work? Error? Why error? If it's going to throw an error, can anyone tell me why error? Perfect. So Krishna, when he tells this total sales is not a column, right? Whatever you mention, column you mention here, that has to be present in this table. Total sales is not a column, because total sales is an alias that I gave for this particular thing, right? If I execute this, it's telling me that total sales does not exist. So, but instead of this, inside my over clause, I can also use this entire thing. Okay. So instead of total sales, I can use this entire thing. And now if I run this, now it works fine and I'm getting the rank. Okay, but I did the order by, but I need to do order by based on descending order. Okay, so now if I do, now the total sale 74 is the highest, so that is lunch bag and it's getting rank as 1. Okay, now I think this is pretty clear, right? So if I want to find the best selling item for Jan, if I just put a rank equal to 1, I should get my final output, right? So what I can do is I can just sell with CTE as, and here I'll just move this to the right. Okay, and I'll close this, select from CTE. Okay, I'll tell star, and I can just tell where RNK equal to 1. Okay, so if I execute this, I will get lunch back. So for the month of Jan, I have easily got which was the best selling item. But our requirement is I need to find the best selling item for each month. Now, can you tell me in this query, what are the modifications that I need to do in order to make this query work for the entire result set? Anyone? I'll give you a hint. We need to do two things. Okay. What are the two things that we need to do? Okay, remove the filter condition for month. Okay, perfect. So I'll remove this. Okay, now if I run, will it work? Let's run. Okay, I'm getting the query is working, but this is not right, right? I removed for the month Jan, but here I can see I'm getting the data only for November. Can you tell me why? Partition needed. Correct. Okay, why? Because here the rank, I did not give partition, so the this rank function was applied for the entire result set. Okay, and in the entire result set, so let's say if I run this inner query here, okay, when I run the inner query here, you can see that I have 106 records and the rank 1 2 3 4. If I go till the end, I have rank up to 106. Why? For this entire result set, the rank function was applied, and rank 1 would only be for one particular record, and that is the only one record that is getting fetched here. Okay, but I want this rank to get applied for each month, right? So I need to do the partition for each month. So that is why in my over clause, first thing is I need to do a partition by this month column. Okay, so this month is basically this one. Okay, So I can just mention that here. And now if I run this, now you can see for each month. So for April, I'm getting the rank up to 5. Okay. And then for again August, I'm getting the rank up to 8. Then for December, again the rank is getting reset, and so on and so forth. Now, when I fetch the data only with rank 1, for each month there would be some record with rank 1, right? All those records will get fetched. Okay. Now you can see that I'm getting 12 records. And if I just make it little up here, and if I move this big, now you can see that for the month of April, Space Boy lunchbox is the best selling item. For August, it is lunch bag. For December, it is what is that, paper bunting, and so on and so forth. Okay. So, and okay, I don't need to display this rank. So here I can just tell item comma month. Okay. And maybe total sales. Okay. If I include only those three columns, now you can see I'm getting the final output. Okay. Is this clear? Did everyone understand this particular uh, query? How to order by month? Uh, I'm not sure if we can. Okay, so this order by month, right? There's one way of doing that. What that is, instead of taking this MON, right? I can basically take the yum, okay, and then it will take the ID. Then I can sort based on that. But then here I also need to display the month name, right? So I'm not really sure. I think probably there should be a way. Okay, not really sure about that now. Maybe I'll get back to you on that. Okay. Is there anyone who knows how we can do that? I can sort the data by month, but then, okay, then again, I'll need to use a subquery for that. Okay. So for example, right, let's say I'll use yum here, yum here, yum here. Okay. And then I have this. Okay. Now you can see the data is sorted by month, but here it's not printing the month, it's printing the month ID, right? So again, to display month, again, I will need to uh, convert that in. I will need to use a function here to convert this into a month, but I think there should be a better way to sort the data by month. Not really sure about that. Maybe I will get back to you on that. Okay. Who asked this question? Can we 2 month? 2 month will 2 month will basically fetch the month, right? But then how do you do the sorting based on month? Order by case? Not really sure, but okay. Can we have a hidden column but use it to sort? Can okay, good question here. So as far as I know, when you're doing a sorting, right, that column has to be there in your select clause. Okay. If you try to sort the data based on a column which is not present in a select clause, then it's going to throw an error. Okay. Because what is sorting? Sorting is basically, okay, what is order by? Basically, it's sorting the data based on the columns that is displayed here. If you try to sort the data based on the column that is not even displayed here, how will SQL do the sorting? So that's not going to work. Why we are using to-char instead of that can't to date? Okay. I'm not, I only want to fetch the month, right? To date is going to, what is a date? Date is going to have day, month, and year all together. Okay. I don't want the day, month, and year together. I only want the month. So I'm going to just use to-char because I will fetch the month as a character hidden in the CT, and then it will be sorted when you call the CT. Can sort the hidden. What is can sort the hidden? Why are we using to? Are you saying Are you saying that we do the sorting here based on the month ID? So let's say I have I have I have order by 1, 2. This is what you're saying. It's still the same. It's displaying here with the ID. I think this one. Let me come back. Okay. To be frank, I'm not sure how you can sort based on the month value itself. Okay. I'm not sure if there is a function to do that. Okay. I don't remember if there is a function to do that. Maybe there is a function. I don't recall it. I'm saying have 2 month columns. Oh, have 2 month columns. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Okay. Who gave this solution? Okay, Brent. So we can do that. Uh, what Brent is telling is, so we'll do one thing. I'll copy this, I'll paste it here, and I'll call it like month ID. Okay, and this is the month, and this is MON. Okay, and then here, okay, so everything else it can be the month ID itself. And I think I don't need this order by here because the sorting should happen with using the window clause. And then I have, then when I'm printing, I'll print the month. Okay, so let's see now if this works. It's throwing an error to care. Oh, because I need to use this in the group by clause. So let's use this in the, I can use this in the group by clause because this value and this value are the same. So it does not make any difference with my final result. So now, okay, so this one works. This is a good alternate method given by Brent. Okay. Uh, so what we did was we used both the month id and the month name. Okay, and then the sorting was done based, because in my partition by I used this month id, right? But then when displaying in my outer query I use the month name. Okay, so this is an alternate way, but I'll try to see if there is a straightforward function which can directly sort the month value. Okay, maybe I'll get back to you on that. Lots of reporting software makes you sort this way. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, okay, that's good, Brent. Thanks for sharing that. One with name and one with number. Is this always when you're using month, or also for some other cases as well, Brent? So in your reporting, right? Is it only when you have some, when you need to do the sorting based on month you use like this, or do you also use multiple columns? Okay, I usually use it for month. Okay, fine. So it's good to know. I think this is a good alternate way. If you want custom order, okay, fine, fine. I think uh, one of the assignment that I gave yesterday, right? In that, I'm actually using this custom ordering. Okay, for, if I'm not wrong, yes, I'm using that custom ordering for a specific case. Okay, but it is not for month. It is for some other purpose. Maybe if you try to solve that problem, you will come to know. Okay. Okay, fine. So I think we are, the time is up. I'm going to end the class now. If you have any questions, I look at the Q&A tab. In class, we are writing queries, but in real time, already queries where there can you tell how to start analyzing, from where to start analyzing. Okay, so Harsha, right, this particular question, if you have noticed, whenever I come up with a problem in this particular class, I'm not just writing the queries. I'm first telling you, right, what concepts we will need to use, and then I'm going to solve the problem one step by step. I did not write this entire query at once, right? First I wrote a simple data fetch for that particular month, then I put a group by, then I did the aggregation, then I used the rank, then I put everything into a city, and then I wrote the main query. And I'm doing the same approach for every other query that I'm doing. Okay, this is the same method that you need to use when you're solving the problem. Okay, the answer to your question is what exactly I'm doing during this class. Okay, when you get a problem, analyze the problem, see what are the different concepts of SQL you need to use, what are the different tables you need to use, what joins you need to use, do you need to use a subquery or a with clause, what functions you may need to use, and then you start writing, like if you can split the problem into multiple different parts, then split it. If you cannot split it, start with a small portion of the query, and then build over that particular logic. Okay. Unbounded preceding following are the same as lead lag? No, unbounded preceding is part of the frame clause. Lead and lag are window functions. Okay. Okay, so I don't have time to cover frame clause today. I will cover frame clause tomorrow. Sorry, in the next class. Okay. Uh, if any other questions, you can tell me, or else we can end the class. In this query, group by and rank, we can use it. Group by and what you can use it, Shiva? Which both? We generally use frame clause not with rank and dense rank. We use it with some other window functions, which I will come in explain the next class. Okay. Okay. So, oh, okay, good one. So sorry, I forgot about the assignment. Let me share the assignment. Okay, for today's class. Just a minute. So assignments. Okay, so this is the assignments for today's session 15, right? So I have one, two, three. So, okay, so there are four queries. Okay. uh, what you can do is the the problem statement is going to be mentioned in the text file. You can see that I have a text file here. Here you will see the data, you will get the data set, what you need to use for each of this question, and along with whatever the question is that is mentioned here. Okay, and the same thing, all the text file is basically the data set and the question, as you can see here. Okay, and then for some of the questions, the input would be through a screenshot that I have mentioned here. So this is the input that you need to use. Okay, and the output would be something like this. So for this particular question, comments and translation, you have an input table like this. You need to write a query to come up with an output that would look something like this. Okay, and then for all the other questions, the expected output is mentioned here, the screenshot of the expected output. Okay, I think this highest energy consumption we already solved in today's class, so that one you can ignore, but other three you can solve it. Okay, so I would say three questions in this session, three questions from the previous session. You have six assignment queries. Try to solve it, and I'll give you the solution for these six assignment questions. Along with, I'll try to explain. You tell me out of these six questions which queries I need to solve in the class. Okay, and then I will solve only those. So I hope you can solve it before the next session. Okay, you have, I think, 4 days. I think 4 days is more than enough to solve these problems. It will work in any RDBMS. I always put it in Lighthall. If you go, you will see a new folder created for assignments. Everything that I make in the class, I share it everywhere in Lighthall and in Telegram. Where do you post the assignments? Both in Lighthall and Telegram. Okay, so I think that's all I have. Yeah, so I think first of all, let me take a copy of this and put it in the notes file. So this is the notes for session 15. Okay, so I think that's all, everyone. So I'll see you all next week. Okay, have a good weekend and try to solve these queries. If it is too complicated, just tell me straight away that it is too complicated. And if it is too simple, also then tell me if it is too simple. Okay, so okay, so thank you, everyone. Bye bye. Have a good weekend.